Thank you. It is the hour that was set for this adjourned meeting. To let you know how we're going to proceed with this meeting, it is an adjourned meeting from the last meeting. We did have one item that we didn't finish the last meeting, so we will take that up. The other items on the agenda that were taken care of at the last meeting, we will not revisit them, but we'll start out with the oral communications. We had oral communications at the last meeting, but we're going to do that again tonight because we set this meeting for the purpose of hearing from community members who are not able to come, have not been able to come to daytime meetings. So we will begin with oral communications. And there's someone still signing up, so I don't have the list.
It will be Ingrid Englund.
Here comes by anything.
Hello, everybody. This is the rationale for joining the Fire Authority. Scientific experts indicate that the current period of climate and environmental change is unparalleled over the 100 million years due to ocean warming. California wildfires over the last 15 years have been increasingly more deadly, destructive, and costly. This year, the cost is already over $2 billion. We live in a tinderbox area just waiting for ignition. Unified commands combine modern resources and staffing from county, state, and federal organizations that are now proven to be the methods to meet predictable disasters. All modern firefighting organizations utilize trained volunteers firefighters, just as the military use reserve units and National Guard. An independent audit will demonstrate that rural areas cannot generate adequate resources that regards to funds, personnel, and technology to sustain an organization required to meet current and future needs. The reality of emergency medical services, resources, funding, area of responsibility shows serious deficiencies in required response. Obtaining fire insurance, reasonable insurance rates, housing sales, and mortgages all are interdependent events. All are dependent upon fire safety preparation and fire protection resources. All must meet the criteria established by outside agencies. All communities, whether rural or urban, heavily depend on federal, county, and state agencies and interactive economies such as trade, business, tourism, and other commerce. The reality is that in our rural community is no longer structured economically or by infrastructure to be interdependent. Most jobs are off the mountain. Independence is a nostalgic myth. We cannot exist in isolation. I strongly believe we must join the San Diego Fire Authority in order to preserve Julian and its surrounding communities, today and forever. Thank you.
Mr. Ben Tulloch.
I thought it was right after you.
I thought so too. Didn't you write it?
I wrote my name down.
Good evening. My name is Ben Tulloch. Some of you know the name from our family's been in the backcountry since I think it was before backcountry. I live over in Pine Valley. I served on the Pine Valley Fire Protection District Board for over 30 years. I've been their chair for probably over 20. I came here this evening a couple of reasons. The first one was to offer their board help if you decide which way you want to go. I'm not here to encourage you to go either way. That's a decision the community has to make, just like we did in Pine Valley. But I do have some concerns about as a citizen and traveling through here, knowing what the level of service is on either side of the Julian District, but regardless of that. Anyway, I want to just give you a little history of what Pine Valley did, because I've heard some different things going on out there about Pine Valley, and some people aren't happy, some are, and all that. About 6-7 years ago, we started the process of contracting with CAL FIRE for the staffing for our station. We were an all-volunteer district. We'd been a volunteer district since 1946 when the district was formed. But what was happening was it was a fact of this day and age. People were getting more involved with families, and just some of the volunteers just didn't have the time to serve and to respond to calls. So it was getting close to where we were maybe going to miss a call or something, and we didn't want to do that. So the county was offering us in the form of a grant to fund to provide CAL FIRE staffing, or the money to do that. We looked at it to stay independent, but there was just no way we could come up with the $750,000, $800,000 a year that it would have required to do that. So the county offered it to us. We decided the board voted to accept that and start it. We were then sued by a couple of the volunteers. They wanted to go to a public vote. It went to court. The judge ruled in their favor that said, no, you really need to let the public vote on whether to contract with to CAL FIRE for staffing. We went to a public vote that fall, and the community overwhelmingly supported the board and their decision, and so we started our CAL FIRE staffing a month or two after that. And we've had CAL FIRE staffing there in Pine Valley ever since. As part of the process that was going on, was this consolidation thing with not only Pine Valley, but Rural Fire Protection District and Julian. I can remember coming over here 3 or 4 years ago to your Julian District when the county had proposed the consolidation thing. I went to rural board meetings because I wanted to be sure the county was telling us all the same thing, and that they weren't trying to sort us off and thin the herd or whatever. So I came over, met with your folks and your board and stuff. At that time, you made a decision to stay independent. That's a community decision. That's the route that you went. We voted to go ahead and start the consolidation process along with rural. And we worked on our applications. We worked a little bit with rural to make sure that we were kind of all on the same page. And on to, we were supposed to dissolve at the same time. We were afraid that, again, we weren't sure what the county was going to do. We wanted to be sure we had things in our terms and conditions to protect our district, to protect our employees that we had, and things like that. What happened was we'd been started on a project about 10 years ago to build a new station, and it had been an ongoing process. And it had gotten to the point where 3 or 4 years ago, we'd gone to our supervisor, Diane Jacob, and she said, we'll get you the money to build your new station and do it the way you want to do it. So we said, okay, great, because we just didn't have the resources to do it. There wasn't enough money in a benefit fee or anything like what you guys have done. So anyway, we started that process, and this consolidation thing started. Well, in our terms and conditions, we had written in there that because we were concerned that the county may not build a station even after we dissolved. So in our terms and conditions, we had that the county would allocate the money, they would choose a contractor, and a contract would be signed to build a station. That took a little longer than we anticipated because of all this water, the new stormwater things and all of that. So actually, rural dissolved about 1.5 years, well, almost 2 years ago now. We finally dissolved last August 8th was our last board meeting. And the county had met that term and condition that the money was allocated. They have started construction of our new station. It's moving along. Anyway, it took a little longer than we want, but we did end up dissolving and joining the county fire authority. We now have paramedic staffed engine in there. There also is a heavy rescue apparatus in there. We redid our training facility, which was in the back of the station, or behind the post office there in Pine Valley. If you're familiar with Pine Valley, the crew has moved back there temporarily until the new station's done. They'll then move forward, and that'll become a training facility. So it took a lot of negotiation. It took a lot of meetings. You have to write down everything you want, but the county's more than willing to negotiate with you. They're more than willing to work with you. And once it gets to LAFCO, and if it gets to that point, then it kind of LAFCO kind of takes over, and then you're headed down that road. So, but there, as far as Pine Valley, our board was looking. The thing we had to look out for was our community, the level of service for not only our community, but the people that come visit the community, and that was one of the main things. I hate it. I've been with the volunteers forever. I hated to see that happen, but the county did take over. One of our volunteers just finally, this a couple months ago, served on through all of this stuff, and he finally just retired just because of age and whatever. Just, it was time. But we've been more than happy with how it ended up. There's been no complaints, at least that I know of, from the community, and the level of services has been fantastic, and it's been great working with the CAL FIRE guys. But you just have to spell out everything you want, and they'll work with you. So, thank you. And again, I can't tell you which way to go. It's your community's decision. But as far as Pine Valley, we've been more than happy. So, thank you for your time.
Any questions? Ben?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Were you an independent fire district?
Yes, we were. We were formed in 1946.
Okay.
And it was an independent, state-recognized fire protection district, just like what you guys are.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of the board? Thank you, Mr. Tulloch, very much. Coming. Roberta Benderim.
I'm kind of nervous. I came up here starting after about September, November, because I had concerns about the paramedics and the EMTs. And I was told that is a county-funded entity of the volunteers. And so when everybody is worried about losing that, I was told we wouldn't do that if we went with the volunteers or whatever. So I was very pleased to realize that. And what everyone else needs to know is that you won't lose your EMTs and your volunteers. It is contracted, and the contract is coming up. So it can change. You might not have the same contract that you have right now with your volunteers. So even if the county takes over and it changes, it could change anyway. It depends on the contract and who does the best bidding. Do you understand that? So everybody that's afraid that they're going to lose their volunteers, paramedics, you won't. They could probably move right over to the others. And so they try to work with the people that are EMTs. Also going with another issue is with the board. Whether you go with the county or whether you stay with the volunteers, you do have to take into consideration the whole area. I'm not just saying the few people that want to hold on to the past so tightly. You must consider everybody. I'm talking about the weekenders. I'm talking about the day trippers. I'm talking about the hikers. We all need to think of everybody up here. So when they're so concerned about their area, they aren't considering the shop owners and everyone else that needs service. When a person's up here visiting, they don't care where they come from. They just want someone there quickly that knows their stuff and that can take care of them. They want someone there that maybe can take care of the little cabin that they are set on fire by accident. So, heaven help them that we don't. But so they need to know that someone is going to be there that is qualified and that will be there in a timely manner. That's all I have to say. Whether you go with the county or whether you go with the volunteers, I will support you because it is important to know that. But I do feel that everybody should support them with whatever decision they should make and quit being bullies and threatening everybody. I've got where I almost don't want to go to the post office. I'm afraid I'm going to run into somebody that's going to at me because I don't agree with them. It is a democracy. People should be able to disagree. We should be able to get along and still disagree. That is what America is founded on. So people, quit fighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benderim. Bill Grimm.
Yeah, I had one more thing real quick, if I could, real quick, something I forgot, and I'll speak loudly so y'all can hear. We were concerned about if the public had a complaint about fire services or something, where they would go. In part of our terms and conditions, we asked that a fire advisory committee be appointed, and the county did do that. We've had our second meeting. We have another meeting. Our next meeting is next Monday. So there is a county-wide fire advisory committee, and we answer directly to the Board of Supervisors. We don't answer to the Fire Authority or to CAL FIRE. We respond directly to the Board of Supervisors. So there is an advisory commission established in the county for CSA 135. So
That's good.
And that was something we were concerned about. That you, as a citizen, they'd have to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting. So I just wanted to throw that out. I'm sorry I forgot it when I was up there originally. We usually meet, the last two meetings we've had down at Ruffin Road at the county deal down there.
Yeah.
But the next one we're having is Monday, 1 or 1:30, I don't remember. And we're meeting at the CAL FIRE, the Monte Vista, because what we're doing is getting all of the people that are on the committee an education on what the County Fire Authority and CSA 135 is. So we're meeting at Monte Vista, and we're going to get a tour of the comm center in the dispatch center where everything's dispatched, and that's also where the warehouse is that they distribute all of the fire hose turnouts and all that stuff out of. So, but there is an advisory committee out there and whether, no matter what happens here, anybody's more than welcome to come to that committee, and it's a public meetings, public committee, and we answer to the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you for that. Mr. Grimm?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and those who have not come to these meetings before, welcome. Okay, one of my topics I'm going to start off with is, and I'm going to kind of run on the tails of a young lady here, is that, this bullying, this stalking of saying, hey, I haven't seen your car parked in your driveway, so you must not live here. Or that claiming that somebody online is actually Pat Walker. I just don't think the gentleman has that much time on his hands to be able to be everybody. So, the thing is that has to come to a stop. So, we can agree to disagree, but let's be friendly about it, okay? And we should be able to go to church and still shake each other's hand and say, God bless you, and pass the ammunition or whatever. Okay, so the thing is, I'd like to bring across here is that we apparently on the 25th of March, we had an emergency call. I had a number of elderly people that I know who called me and said, did you get that call? And what's going on? The thing is, emergency is, there's a rollover on the 79. There's an avalanche on the 78. There's a fire in Kentwood. That's an emergency. The thing is, something that's going on 3 days down the road is not an emergency. Key word, emergency. If that's not what it's going to be used for, let's not put the emergency in it. The other thing is that I'd like to point out is that I felt it a little bit odd that this petition that everybody's running around, God bless you, go ahead and put your petition out there. But going into a business when people are on the clock, working, and having their names on it already, and then say, sign this petition. Now, one, they don't have time to sit there and read it. Two, they're too busy, and and the thing is, we're a small community. If you brought in a petition to me and I'm working there, I'm like saying, whoa, if I don't sign this thing, it's not what you say, it's the point that it's coming out as. These people are afraid to be able to tell them, say, no, I don't want to sign that because I disagree with you, or yeah, I'll sign that. But the thing comes down to, the point being made here, you put these people in a very awkward position because with the situation that's been going online lately, I hate to say it, I'd be afraid too. I'd sign it just because I don't want to be getting myself fired or having my business sitting there being ostracized. Okay, the other thing is, and this is the main thing I'm going to bring up. $200 per parcel. Okay, yeah, they'd say, well, if it's not done this, it's going to be this now. Okay, that doesn't matter. Point being made, you can have two houses on two different parcels. You're paying $200 per parcel. Now, then it'll be brought up incrementally, and I can never pronounce that word, so forgive me. But the thing is, $300, $400 until they get to the operation cost that it operates the business. Again, I'm already paying for CAL FIRE out through my property tax. I don't want to have to pay twice for the same service, and I will be getting the same service. Now, it's still a tax no matter how anybody wants to call it, and that includes what the county's giving you. The other thing is that in 2003, everybody talks about the Cedar Fire. The Cedar Fire what came out of the Cedar Fire was a commission that was brought about that stated a number of different issues. And one of those issues was bringing the military on board. Because the military during that fire volunteered to bring their CH-53s and 46s up to help put out the fire in their Hueys. Okay? But CAL FIRE basically, I don't know who it was, CAL FIRE, whoever was making the decision at the time said they would not be able to communicate with one another. Now now the military has a squadron all ready to to do that, just that job. The other thing is that because of with all of this other stuff, another thing was brought up that they wanted to consolidate everything in the county because this is all this part of the country or this part of the state. So they want to have the personnel and everything else, and they want to have that control to be able to do all that stuff. And then you go on to the cost of equipment, personnel, and the upkeep of this equipment. This equipment is not cheap to maintain. And $100,000 per year for a fire chief, sorry chief, you're out of luck. I don't agree with it.
He doesn't make that kind.
Yeah. But the thing is, this community just can't afford it. It's not that you guys don't do a fantastic job. You guys do. But it's just the fact is, you just can't afford it. I'm on a fixed income. And even this amount of money is too much for me. And you say it's only $33, but it's going to go up. We already know that. And then, but I would like to finish out here. I would like y'all to read a letter by and refer to the Julian newspaper. A letter to the editor on the 28th of March. They had a letter to the editor. That was a great article that he put out, and also, and it was dated the wrong date, so I must have gone in time and got the in advance in time because it says for April. Okay, but it was from Andrea Sissit. What's her last name?
Oh, my daughter.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, great letter in that what we call it, the letter to the editor. And then I'd like to invite everybody to read a letter by a Mike Cornett from the Julian and Cuyamaca area citizens in support of CAL FIRE, San Diego County. Great letter, and hit the points of just what this young man over here had said about what was going on. That's what I would like you guys to just read. Agree with me or disagree with me, but the thing is, I'd like you to look at these people who have actually been in your shoes that you guys deal with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Bob Doan.
My name is Bob Doan, and I've lived in Pine Hills and Julian for 32 years. I know that you are a representative board, and I recognize you are elected to govern this fire department. However, I do not believe that there's a single voter in my community who thought you people would yourselves dissolve this district and dispose of our assets. The honorable action here is to put this issue on the ballot and allow me and my neighbors to vote. I'm going to go back to October the 25th, 2003. The time is 5:37 p.m. There's 2 helicopters with water buckets hovering over a small brush fire in Ramona. The Forest Service chief decided to call off these 2 fire buckets and suspend all firefighters. The next morning, the fire was out of control. I was building a log home on Engineers Road in Pine Hills at the same morning, and I saw the smoke coming from Ramona, and I was sure that it would come into Julian. Shortly afterward, we were asked to evacuate. My neighbor refused to leave his home prior to the fire. I questioned that neighbor, Lance Edwards, after we were allowed to come back to our home. I asked him what happened and why were our homes standing and other homes were burned down. Lance told me about the heroism of the Julian firemen, the Julian volunteer firemen. He said at the time he was approaching, a sheriff drove by his home with a loudspeaker yelling, "Get out, and get out now." Lance yelled back, "I'm not going. I'm going to save my home." That same sheriff had seen a lot of fire trucks parked along Highway 78. And they were out-of-state trucks, and some were other fire trucks. These firefighters chose not to come up and confront the fire. The sheriff decided to call the Julian firemen to come up because he wanted local men that loved their country, or that loved Julian, and they cared for the people, and this was their home. Those brave independent firemen answered the call knowing that there was dangers and other trucks stayed behind when they didn't want to come up. The Julian Fire Department saved our homes, and including mine and some others. And they were dedicated and they loved our community. And that's why I think that was the difference, because they loved our community. In conclusion, I ask you 5 people to allow voters to decide whether to continue the Julian Fire Department to remain independent. And this would be a decent and honorable action to take. P.S. There were 15 lives lost in the Cedar Fire. Let's not make that same choice again. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Doan. Greg Hidley.
Hi, folks. I'll be brief. My name is Greg Hidley. I've owned property in Julian for 18 years and have been a resident here for 11 years. After much research and hard work, the communities of Julian and Lake Cuyamaca joined together to form JCFPD. In 1984, 71.5% of the voters passed a proposition to impose a benefit fee to support the JCFPD district. It seems to me unconscionable now that 3 individuals will make such a momentous decision to dissolve the district. I believe the right thing to do is to place the issue on the ballot and allow the community to vote. If we really do have a silent majority in favor of accepting the county's offer, their votes would be final, and I would accept that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hidley. Alin Mervin.
Go for it, Al.
I was a volunteer during the '07 fires, and I was served on the board for 5 years. And I'm here to urge the board to go with the county because things have changed, and there's a lot of differences between volunteers and the county. One, it starts when the fire bell goes off or the volunteer's pager goes off. The volunteers have to, they need normal lives. They're doing this, that, and the other, and they have to come in to the station, then go out to the fire. If you look at the county and the CAL FIRE, they're manned in the station with the full crew 24/7. They're out the door in 3 minutes or so. Time is a critical factor in a fire. Fire burns as fast as it can, and that 15 or 20 minutes can mean the difference between saving a house or not saving a house. There are many, many more reasons why I would urge the board to go along with the county, but let's not go into all of them tonight. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marvin. Michael Minghini.
Hi, my name is Mike Minghini, and just have to say a few words here. I'm totally for keeping the volunteers here. I've seen the volunteers at their best, and I've seen CAL FIRE at their worst. Matter of fact, I just read an article online about CAL FIRE. It was by Independent Institute of California, and they gave CAL FIRE a California Fleece Award. They were saying, it was a very, very long article, but so I'm just going to say a couple of things about what they said about CAL FIRE. They said they have failing grades, first for misguided priorities, second for poor performance, and third for increased budget. So they also recommended, because CAL FIRE was so poor, that they should keep it as local control, which would be our volunteers, private ownership, and also accountability. I'm very disappointed in what's going on here. I think that before this all started that we had a perfect situation. CAL FIRE is for land fires, and our volunteers are for structure fires. We had the best of both, and if you don't know it, CAL FIRE is not going away. They're here. That's a state mandated thing. They're not going away. The other thing I'd like to say is I'm very disappointed in that it took 3 votes for Jack to get his way. And I truly believe that. I was on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. You don't know that, did you? It was voted on once, and Jack was the only one that voted. Yes, it is. I was here. Yes, I was here. Here. In the second vote, there wasn't a second, so they didn't vote on it. And then the third vote, the 2 of the members were coerced by Jack, and they voted to go with CAL FIRE. I'm kind of disappointed in the 2 that changed their vote. I mean, that's when I was in the Chamber of Commerce. If my board voted against me, it was their wish. That's what a board's for. And I think the one vote should have happened, and I think that we should have stayed with the volunteers. Thank you.
Karen Kiefer.
Hi, my name is Karen Kiefer. I'm employed here since 2003. Work as a paramedic on the ambulance. I can't speak in board meetings on duty with my uniform. Chief Marinelli will not allow me to speak, so I have to speak as a citizen. I've heard several things today that just are not accurate. It's not $200 per parcel. It's $200 per structure on a parcel. Is what we're asking. And that's going to provide a paramedic on an engine, staffed full-time, and be responding in Julian and Cuyamaca and helping wherever needed. I was looking at our staffing. Alin Mervin, actually it's not true. We are staffed every day. And this is December's staffing alone. This is every day what we have. Every day. You can see they're here at the station. They don't drive in from home. They're here. They're back there. They're inside the station. They're here 24 hours a day. They get out of bed. They get out of bed the same time I get out of bed when I go on a call with an ambulance, with the ambulance call. They get out of bed and they hit the road and they go on the call just as fast as anybody else does.
So they're not volunteers?
And they're reserves. We have reserves and volunteers. We have both. And then one of our captains sleeps on the couch or the chairs every night. So when he stays here, they're here. I was looking at our staffing from January, February, March. We're staffed every day. We've had an average of over 2 staffing. We have 69 days in 3 months that we have more than 2 on a staffing. 21 days, we have 5 on a day. And then one day, another day of 6 and 7 on a day. So if you say the county engine that they're promising you is $4,000 a day, that would come out for 3 months of $276,000. They're going to come, and when they're done with phase 4 here, they're done in Riverside, they're done with phase 4, they're not going to raise tax. Chief Meacham said it's going to be free. It will not be free. They can impose a fee, a fire fee, without a vote. So you're going to continue paying your benefit fee that you're paying for this department right here, and you're going to pay a fire fee. And when that's not enough, you're going to be charged what they're doing in Riverside, a cost recovery plan of $390 an hour for their paramedic engine. That's what you're going to be charged. And that will happen because they cannot keep up with the expense of CAL FIRE employees. And I'm not saying anything's bad with it. I would love to have raises. But the next 4.5 years, this year, Riverside said we have a crisis and they have to go to the cost recovery plan. And they have 3.5 more years to go. I don't know what they're going to do. But I wanted to talk about that. I also wanted to talk about the training of our department. People are saying that we're not trained, and I'll say it again. 2015, we had 271 hours of training on the books. 2016, we had 275 hours, and in 2017, 332 hours. Well, every day I'm here, the guys are training every single day. Carlsbad Fire requires 240 hours a year. We're trained, and we're staffed. Our reserves are minimum of EMT. They're paramedics too. They work in their professions, and they come up here to do this to further their career and to serve this community. That's what they do. The data that Chief Meacham gave, I'm investigating actually about said our ambulance compliance was 76%, which is failing the county. 11 calls were missing out of that. 11 compliant calls were missing out of that report. And I'm investigating that with 2 agencies right now. So the data he gets I'm sorry. He says that they can get to a call 3.5 minutes quicker. I don't trust that at all. So I support our volunteers. I may not be here next year living in California, but I support our volunteers. I've worked with them on the ground out there, working with everybody that we run on, and they're excellent. And for them to be slandered and our department be misrepresented that we're not staffed and that they have to come from home to respond to you, and then how much this is going to cost is ridiculous. And the other thing, too, the safety net of this department, which the community right now is doing an initiative fee, and they are putting that on the ballot to raise it to $200, not $200 more dollars than you're paying, but to $200. And it goes up as cost of living. It's like 3% or something a year, whatever. That is per household. That's it. So if you call 911 and the county can't afford to pay for the engine here, then it's going to be coming out of your pocket. The other thing too, we can talk about what's been known. The engine that was here for 2 years, it responds out it goes out of Julia and Cuyamaca. It goes into the desert all the way to the Imperial County line, and it goes all the way to the Borrego Springs line border for all traffic accidents. Who's here? If we're not here, who's here? And what if these 2 brush engines are on fires, not structure fires, but wildland fires? Who's here? I've seen them go to Pine Valley to cover, just to cover, not to run a call, to cover when they're on busy calls because they're a high call volume place. Who's going to cover you? Who's going to cover the business, like you were saying? I forgot who was saying it. Who's going to cover the businesses, the tourists, the hikers? Who's going to cover all them? And I've heard Intermountain Station go into Ramona multiple times when Ramona has calls going off. Who's covering Intermountain? That parking lot used to be full of cars before, and now there's 2. So I believe in this department, and I believe if we get this benefit fee passed, get it on the ballot, get it passed, we can do amazing things with the money. Look what we've done for $50 a year per parcel already. It's unbelievable. And we're your safety net financially, and we're going to respond to your calls. And when County Fire Authority pulled out, and I'll let you all know, they stopped their auto aid agreement. And I love these guys, these CAL FIRE guys. We work with them all the time. But they sat in their station at Cuyamaca and were ordered not to respond to any calls in the district. If there was somebody that stopped breathing that's minutes from them in Cuyamaca, there you go. Why would they do that? So, and the San Isabel tribal chief was threatened to not help us. They're our closest resource. This is ugly, and this is stuff that I'm going to get out there because I got to do it out of uniform. And then our chief refused to sign an auto aid agreement with the closest resource. It's just terrible.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker. Eva Hatch.
Over the last 15 years, I have watched strangers, friends, Democrats, Republicans, the young, the old, and downright good people come together as a community to fight for our community fire department. The dirty politics have gotten to both sides of us at one point or another, myself included, and I apologize for being involved in it. I have spent thousands of hours on this topic. I have attended countless meetings. I have held 2 community meetings of my own. I have reached out to over 417 people in the last 3 weeks, all of which are not already involved in this issue. And I have reached up to 3,407 people on one single Facebook post. I have the data to prove that it is all local traffic. I have yet to find the silent majority made up of Julian and Cuyamaca locals. I'm not talking about the trolls on Facebook. I'm talking about I have not found the silent majority of people that live in Julian and Cuyamaca. I have found that almost every new face I have confronted is full of confusion and under the impression that this board has already made a decision and that the citizens can't do anything about it. The community members do not believe that their perspective is being taken into consideration. And therefore, you do not see them at these meetings. This is the opposite of what local control is about. I stand with JCFPD, and I support working with San Diego County Fire Authority. I have nothing against the boots on the ground, as long as we do not dissolve the district. And my decision is based fully off the facts of this issue. The key one being that the San Diego County Fire offer of only 2 firefighters and a possible reserve is just not adequate service for our area. And that's according to CAL FIRE's very own standards under the Riverside Fire Department. 2 people cannot do over-the-side LARA. You need to wait for 3 or 4 more San Diego County Fire engines to arrive to get that person out of their car that's down in the hill on Springview. Do you want to wait for 30 minutes while CAL FIRE gets their guys together to respond? That would, if we have 1 LARO incident, which is low angle rescue, that would take almost every engine within 30 to 40 minutes of our area away from their communities, and they would be here, and they would only be on 1 incident. That is a serious concern, especially as a business owner who's trying to promote year-round tourism. This vote directly affects too many lives to speculate what our community wants. Let us vote. If the community as a whole voted to go with SDCFA, I would totally accept that because then I would know that's what they truly wanted. I've even considered joining SDCFA myself and would encourage others to do so as well because we all know, God knows too, they need some help. This is a community decision. Please let us vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hatch. Jonathan and Linda K. Hardin.
Good evening. Excuse me. Good evening, members of the board, members of the community. I stand here tonight. I don't have facts and figures. I just speak from experience. The first experience I want to speak from is a very positive one. Although I've lived here in Julian on and off over the past 15 years, since before the Cedar Fire, I wanted to thank the members of the volunteer fire service because of an error made while I transitioned into this community between my doctor in Riverside County and my doctor here in Santee. I was accidentally overdosed on medication, and they not only made sure that I made it to the hospital in time to save my life, they also made sure that I was stable enough to do so without life flight. So I just wanted to thank you guys for doing that. And I know a lot of people have stood up here and have talked about, you know, people doing this and that and the other, and I just wanted to start out with something positive. The second thing I wanted to mention, and this of course is no fault of the, as people have mentioned, the boots on the ground, was when I did live in Riverside County, I lived in a small community called Quail Valley. Now I know Quail Valley, much smaller than Shelter Valley, excuse me. Quail Valley went through a similar transition. We had a volunteer fire department. The volunteer fire department dissolved, turned over to CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE was working with Riverside County at the time, made the transition. We got assessed fees, rather large ones. I can't tell you exactly because my paperwork was lost when our house burned to the ground. I lived 2.5 blocks from the fire station, and unfortunately our CAL FIRE team was allocated to the north end of the county. And because so, it took them over 15 minutes for the first engine to arrive.
Actually, I want to correct that. I think it was more at least 30 minutes before anyone arrived. And I'd like to also share that, ooh, that is loud. I'd like to share that the captain 2 blocks away at our fire station with CAL FIRE knew us. He knew that we had medical problems. He disobeyed his commander's orders because it was close enough that he could see the smoke and fire from our home from where he was deployed. He disobeyed orders because he said in his words that he felt had he not come, he would have carried us out as casualties. As it was, our neighbors heard us screaming for help, and we had to rescue ourselves with the people from our community. And we lost everything. And I want to say, I don't want you guys to go through that. I don't want anyone to go through that. And as John said, we were here in 03 and 07, and we know how bad it can be. And I hope, in my view, from this, I'll let John continue, but I hope that we'll choose the loving choice. And I wish with all my heart that we could get along enough to have CAL FIRE and our Julian volunteers work together for the best outcome. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry. I just needed to get that out.
But I've seen things turn ugly too. And to kind of build on an assertion that Ms. Starlin and Ms. Tucker made at the end of last board meeting, that for every one of us who are attending the morning meetings and making a loud assertion that for every one of us, there was someone out there making the assertion that the volunteers should go. There's people out there making the assertion that the volunteers should stay, that there's people out there saying there's volunteers should go. That I'd like to strongly urge the board that this is too important a decision to turn over to just a few of you. It needs to go to the voters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardin.
I'd like to share one other item, and that is the need for local, and I've said it before,
And there is a letter on Facebook that I've written. You can check it out. I won't go into much more detail. But without an immediate response, I have 3 hours to live if I go into adrenal failure, which can happen due to mental, physical, or a combination of mental or physical stress. I don't want to die because someone can't find my house, or if I choose to go and enjoy this beautiful community that I love. And we chose to come here because we knew this community was home to people that understood fire. There are so many people out there that also do not want to die, and I urge you with my whole heart, as a person of faith, to please choose a loving choice. Don't think of money. Money is not the issue. It can be found. We all know money is out there somewhere. And many may disagree with that. But think of your family. Think of your children. Think of the grandparents. Think of the people that you care about. And think of the people that come to be guests of our community. Thank you for letting us both speak.
Thank you. Monica Gallina.
Good house numbers are being you could find the house.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to introduce myself to the board because I fear that I may just seem like another JCFPD t-shirt wearing woman. My voice represents the voice of 5 adults. Here they are. Gallina family. My husband, Michael, and I moved to our home in Kentwood 2 on April 26, 2004. We've lived in Julian for a longer period of time than any other residents. For 14 years, Michael has commuted down the mountain, been gone 12 hours, so that we could live here in Julian. I've been employed in Julian, and I've worked at 3 different jobs here. I worked at Julian Junior High when Ida was there. I worked at Books and Nooks in Wynola, and I worked 8 years at a boutique hotel. Ours is a family home. My 2 adult sons, Mike and Joe, have lived here 6 and 3 years each respectively, and they commute to Ramona. Our daughter lived here and worked in town for years, and she is returning this fall to be married in Julian. These are 4 new voices for the board to hear, and I want you to realize that. I've been waiting and speaking since I started coming in summer, but I'm speaking for 5 folks. The Gallina family supports an independent Julian Cuyamaca Fire Protection District. As our representatives, I expect you to remember our position in your decision making. We are requesting that you work to support our fire district. The vote in September was to remain independent. Why do you now want to give up our functioning department of 34 years and $6 million in assets for the plan that the county is offering? I would like an explanation, and I would also like to vote on this. This is too important for 5 people to decide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bill Everett. Bill Everett is up next. Kathy, you're next.
I'm certain that nobody is happy about the acrimony that's come about as a result of differences of opinion on this. I'm certainly not happy about it, and I don't know anybody who is happy about it. If the board votes this evening to dissolve and go forward, the acrimony is not going to go away. It's very likely it's going to increase.
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, it isn't? Okay. All right, next Tuesday. I'll speak as if I were talking next Tuesday, but if they vote next Tuesday, then the acrimony is almost certainly going to increase every board meeting that you guys have. every LAFCO meeting that people can go to. People are passionate about this. But I would offer to you that there's a way to stop that right now, to stop the acrimony. And the way to do that is simply to allow the people to vote. We're going to have a referendum in November. It's going to be on the ballot. I would respectfully ask the board members who are pondering dissolution to let the people vote. And this is going to be the way to do it, and it'll take all of the pressure off of you, and the community can breathe easy for a while, and we'll meet in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Everett. Kathy Goddard.
Hi. I'm a Cuyamaca homeowner and have lived in Cuyamaca for 40 years. I have always supported the Cuyamaca and the Julian volunteer firefighters, and I still support the volunteers. We will be having the Cuyamaca pancake breakfast again this year on May 27th. So let me know if you would like to help. I voted for the fire district board members because I thought that you supported our volunteer firefighters also. This meeting tonight is so you can get the community's opinions, and that's fine. But I would also like to hear the board's reason for changing your votes. Why do you want to turn everything? Why do you want to turn everything we have worked for over to the county? I really want to hear from you. And please let the voters decide in the November election. Thank you.
Thank you. Got it. Jim Mazzone.
I'm Jim Mazzone, and I'm a past board member of this fire board. I've been associated with it one way or the other for several years. I was one of the founding members of the board when it was first put together. And I came here in 1974, and I commuted back and forth to San Diego, where I worked as a firefighter for San Diego City. So when I retired, it was a natural thing for me to want to get involved with the fire service here. I can tell you from my experience that there have been a lot of people who have put a lot of hard work over the many, many years to get this fire board, or this fire district rather, in the shape it is. I can tell you right now, Buddy Seifert's one. He's got almost 40 years of service in the community. A lot of people don't remember Marie and Larry Hutchison. Well, I do. They were instrumental in keeping this thing going for many, many years. I am not really sure of what exactly the current proposal from County Fire, or the County Fire Authority is. But I can tell you from my personal experience, I heard Mr. Tulloch talk about the cooperation with them, and I think that's great. If that's the way they're doing business now, I think it's wonderful. But from my own experience, we had a couple of members from the County Fire Authority come to one of our board meetings and tell us what they wanted to do for us. They were going to come in and they were going to take over certain parts. They were going to leave certain other things to us as a local fire authority, and it sounded pretty good. So I asked them if they would present that to us in writing. When we got the written reply, it didn't sound a whole lot like what they had represented. And on two different occasions, going back 12, 14 years, whatever it was, I had occasion to talk to our supervisor, Diane Jacob. And I asked her both times, I explained to her the need we had in Julian for a new fire station. And her response both times was, well, what have you done for yourself? That's a fair question. Well, the answer is this fire station. In the past, the county has supported this fire district with cash, ambulance, and I'm not really familiar with anything new, but at the same time, when I hear that they are going to withdraw that help unless we play ball, I have to question that. Is that a little bit like blackmail? I like Diane Jacob, by the way. As for the cost, I don't know of any place where you can get free fire protection. It's going to cost whether you go with the present situation or whether you're going to go. And if the county tells you that don't worry, we're going to cover this and that, I would think I'd want to know a little bit more before I trust that. I've seen in the past where they have not really fulfilled the promises they made. As the voters here imposed, self-imposed a fire tax fee. They're the same people that voted this board into office and all the other boards that have been in this office. That's why I urge this board as strongly as I can. Reconsider your vote if you're going to vote against this proposal. Because the people that put you in office are the ones that you truly should be representing. Now, if the majority of the people go along with what you're saying, then you are representing them. But I haven't heard anything said about who knows exactly what the majority is. Has anybody on the board made an attempt to find out truly what the majority of people in the community want? I haven't heard anything like that. You have what?
I've talked to about 400 people so far. I'd say at least 300 are in favor of retaining what we have now. They don't trust the county.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, I would, I think the putting this thing to a vote of the public is probably the only thing that makes sense. If in a disaster, I don't care if they said they're not going to help or not. I absolutely guarantee, and I just can't imagine, any fire authority standing by and watching this town burn. Okay? And as far as the board reconsidering its vote, I ask you very strongly, reconsider if you think about voting that way. Because once this fire district is gone, it is not coming back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazzone. Brian Ross. Brian Ross.
He's giving me his time. I know.
I've already spoken before, so I wasn't going to speak today, but something happened that changed my mind, which I will detail. Easy is not right. There is no ethical or practical reason to ask us to dissolve. We can work together, we should work together, and we have no need to dissolve to work together. We can't go back if we dissolve, or if we decide that it didn't work for us later. It'll be over. It's done. There's no going back. We dissolve, that's it. The county can, and I am assured that they will, place fees on us. Not taxes, but fees. So that will be without input from the community. We will pay. And it won't be $200. Nice thought, but it just won't be. Volunteers save billions every year. Volunteers have saved billions for us. We just didn't know it, and we maybe didn't even stop to appreciate it. We haven't negotiated as Pine Valley did. We let them state the terms, and that was it. And I personally have spoken to people from 17 departments where there have been serious issues or failures. Every department has lost all but a very few volunteers, and the stats just don't support that they'll stay. I know that no one can stop the unprofessional behavior. I asked Meacham directly, and he told me that because the Cal Firefighters are union, he can't stop or even influence the unprofessional behavior. He can say something, and he promised that he would, but that's all he can do. Here's the reality. The conflict is intentional. We're tools, folks. That's what we are. But we can make a choice to not participate in the divide and conquer behavior. I love my community. I have no reason to fight with them or participate in the acrimony. When people tell us things like people will die, and by the way, this is documented, and we'll respond slowly, that turns our community against each other. It creates fear. And that is absolutely deplorable. True, it's not stoppable, but we will live with the consequences, and it won't just be for now. Do you really think that the bigwigs are taking over Julian's fire out of the goodness of their heart? Come on, people. The answer is no. And I challenge each of you, including myself, to stop the behavior. We are all individually responsible. So I have to read something that's going to be a little tough for me, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think it's important. I've been very vocal. There's some things I haven't participated in, but I have been very vocal. And I've watched a lot of mistruths go out. Today I knew we were coming to this meeting, and something happened. I got a message on my cell phone. This is what the message said. We know who you are, and we know who your family member in the fire service is, and they can't and won't save you. You're on the wrong side. When we win and a fire comes, you will burn. Don't evacuate. We'll be outside listening. And I have the message, and it has been reported. Now, even more, I hope that we can have both and end the acrimony. I'm sure you can understand. We need to be firm that we're better together. Our community deserves increased service, not to pay higher costs for less service. This is not funny, people. This is very, very serious. I'm disgusted. And I didn't tell you the end of the message, but it said, shut the F up, or else you'll find out what happens. And I'm going to tell you this, I will not shut anything up. That only made me more determined to speak because I wasn't going to. That's not acceptable. No, it's not. And if my house does burn down, and it may, and it's possible that maybe someone would stand by, I'll live with that because I'm doing the best that I can to protect my community, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Ben Edwards.
Hi, my name is Ben Edwards. I had a stroke, so sorry, but you know, come on, people, like, seriously, think about it first and then act. So, you know, I don't understand the reason why people are going that way, but, you know, people act first, then,
That's what they said.
you know, I don't know. really is sad because, again, some are, and all is been there like ever, born here, and firefighter or EMD, and now Lions member, and people of really awesome community. Think, then act.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Toni Harter. Toni Harter.
No, I really don't have anything to say, except I'm thankful the threats that were made against me and disparaging remarks weren't as bad as what happened to Heather, because it's not been pleasant. But the only thing I want to say is the terms provide for 1 truck, 2 or 3 staff. We already have multiple trucks, fully staffed, more than 3 or 4 each and every day. With 1 truck, a backup would be 30 minutes away to cover our station, which leaves the responding station unstaffed till another truck arrives. I just don't understand, and the board hasn't expressed, why do you want to do this? That's it. Oh, I'd like to vote.
Thank you. Thayer Brehm. Thayer Brehm.
Hello, everybody. Typically, I write up a big piece of paper and go blah, 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 but now I'm just going to do blah, blah, blah out of my heart and out of my head. What we have here is a small community that survives and has lived on volunteer firefighters, and its love and its passion for its community and people. That's history that you can't ever take away. You can't take away the love, the sweat, the tears, and everything that it took to build it and grow it. You can't give that away. If you do, in my heart, in my eyes, that's sinful and that's wrong. Let the people have the opportunity to vote for this station and vote for whatever it needs to vote for. All right? Let them vote. That's just my biggest heart, is let people vote. I went to Rosecrans this weekend, visited my grandpa, my great-grandpa, my uncle, my aunt, and my mother that I couldn't go visit in Colorado that's buried in the ground. They served this country to allow us to vote. And that is all I'm asking. Let us vote, whatever it takes. Let the community vote. That's number 1. Number 2, no matter what happens with this department, I think this department should stay. It's part of the community. I don't care if it survives on $500, or let's say it survives on $60,000 a year, or $100,000 a year, or whatever it takes. Do not get rid of something that is embedded in this community. Because for some reason, we took the idea that we can support this building. We can support more staff. We've got enough people in this community and outside of the community that can come and do reserve time and be part of this thing. Do not kill something that you cannot revive. If you do, in my opinion, you're being unrespectful parents to the community. And we're trying to be good parents. So don't neglect the community. Let the people vote. And just be fair about it. Let us get up here and vote for this place. And that's what I got to say. My heart's always been in community service. And there's plenty of people here, and there's plenty of resources. There's people outside of here that couldn't even make it tonight that have got thousands and thousands and thousands of hours on how to make this thing work. Thousands of hours. Research, time, development. And has the board put that much time into it? I don't know. Some of them may, some of them haven't. But if you're just going to, if you got to participate, But there's people out here that have thousands of hours to figure out how to make this run, and it can run. And the county, once you give it to the county, their vote is their vote on raising taxes. Right now, this community has the opportunity to vote on its taxes, and once it's gone, we can't stop them from raising their taxes, and they will. So let's just keep it ourselves, no matter if it's maybe 200 ain't enough. Find out where it needs to be. But please, give this community the opportunity to vote. That's how all you guys got here, is because we all voted. So let us vote, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Patrick Reitz. I have two Reitzes signed up, Patrick Reitz and Chief Reitz. Is there a Chief Reitz?
I am one and the same.
One and the same, okay.
Didn't really need to sign up twice.
I signed.
She signed up already. Yes, I have.
Okay.
Good evening.
Chief, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Board, citizens of Julian Cuyamaca Fire Protection District. Mr. Chair, would you indulge me and tell me what the rules are for your public comment period? I don't know what they are. I would like to know before I start.
We really have no rules. I'm sorry. The rules are that we will have oral communications for 15 minutes.
Well,
We're an hour and a half into that 15 minutes. The rules are that each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes.
That's the rule I'm looking for, sir.
Okay?
Thank you very much. I will try to keep my comments to 3 minutes.
I have been reluctant to gavel anyone down, so we've let people speak. beyond the 3
Understand
minutes.
I'm from the evil Riverside County to the north, so I have some different opinions. However, my name is Patrick Reitz. I'm the fire chief for the Idylwild Fire Protection District. Some of you may consider Idylwild your sister city on another mountain. We are not unlike you. We are a small fire protection district, and we serve a community that is tourism-based. And we have been around since 1946. This is I will be celebrating my 31st anniversary in emergency services. I am a firefighter, I am a paramedic, and I am relatively new to the state of California. This is the 5th state I've worked in, and but this is the 3rd fire department, Idylwild is, that I have been the chief of, and I'm very proud of my history and what I have done with my other departments. I am not your chief. I'm not a member of your community. But I was asked to come down from Idylwild, make the trip, and give some thoughts as to what it is that you're going through. And I love the passion. I love the fact that you are a community that truly believes in community. I could sit here and give you my professional opinion on what needs to take place. I can tell you what doesn't need to take place, but I don't want to talk about that. What I really want to talk about is I want to talk about local control. And I am a big believer in small government and local control. Look at all you folks here tonight. Do you honestly believe that you could go to the county, and no disrespect to San Diego County, please understand. I just know how big our counties are and how many residents we have. On any one single issue with a group this size, and make an impassioned plea to change a vote. Do you think you can do it in Sacramento? Do you think you can do it in Washington? Yeah. Okay? The reality is that you, as a local constituency have the say of your board. Your board is members of this community. Do you think you can go to your assemblyman? You can go to his house. You can approach him when he's having a cup of coffee.
She comes to us all the time.
And that's great. But the reality of it is, can you see that person every day? Can you see that person even once a week? And I know in Riverside County, that's an impossibility. It is local control. It is local say. This is not about personalities, and I don't want to talk about math and doing the numbers. I'm not here to tell you, board, how to do your job. I'm not here to tell the chief how to do his job. And citizens, I am certainly not here to tell you how to do your job other than be good citizens. We could sit here and talk about staffing. We can talk about who does what, who doesn't, who's better, who's not. I can tell you this, that if you lose local control, you lose control. Yeah. You lose the ability to negotiate. You lose the ability to control your cost. Right. There are always going to be winners. There are always going to be losers. I can tell you that when it comes to, in this case, county government coming in and assuming control, you can go around your own county and you can talk to folks who are very satisfied and it works for them. And you can talk to folks who are ever so sorry that they ever made the move. So it has to be a community decision. I understand this is San Diego County and not Riverside County, and we can talk Riverside politics after the meeting if you really have a year to talk. Local government is about accountability, and I heard a lot of your speakers tonight, and I'm really just summing up what a number of you have already said. You can make a difference. Your board members got on this board to make a difference. They were elected by folks that think, or at least kind of think, like they do at one point in time. And I can't tell you how important it is. And that's what I express to my board, especially when they're trying to make a decision and it's a divided board. It's okay to be a divided board. It's okay to have good, positive discussion about differences of opinion. It is important to do that. And that's what separates us from almost every other country in the world, is that we can come and we can settle, and when the vote is done, and we move on, and we go ahead. But where else can you make a difference except at local government level? I know local government officials that have left because they wanted to have bigger political aspirations. They left local government to go. They left a city government to go to a county government. They went from a county government to go up to the state house. And guess what? Their voice is muted, and their vote is almost worthless. Nowhere can you make a difference like you can in your local community. And board, I do commend you for your service, regardless. It's not an easy job. But when you do lose this, you can't get it back. When you divest and you lose your resources, you're done. This is a tactic that has been used by private entities, particularly in the ambulance industry. And I told you, I've been doing this a little bit of time. And I've watched the ambulance industry do this time and time and time again. And they come in, they make promises to their community, they divest their resources, and then they can't get their ambulance back. Because the ambulance service came in, took possession of everything, and they turned around, and they can't afford to get it back. The cost of doing business for a fire truck goes up between 8 and 20% a year. So if you decide you want to start a fire district, look at today's cost. And you just can't do it. Again, this is not really about my opinion. This is about the voters, the residents, and the taxpayers. And I'm going to tell you, folks, that if you are going to step up and you want to keep your district, and again, I am not here to tell you how to do things. And this is not about CAL FIRE or San Diego Fire Authority coming in. Okay? I'm just telling you, voters, that if you want to come in, if you want to save, then you better be prepared. You better be prepared to do the hard work and step up, and not just at a meeting and voice your opinion. You need to step up, and you need to be prepared to respond with your votes, your checkbook, and the hard work that needs to be done. If you want to stay a volunteer community, then you better figure out who's going to volunteer and not point at the other guy going, I can't do it, I'm too busy. So there's a lot of things that I could say right here, but I'm going to close. And I'm going to thank the board for their time and their attention to this matter. And I encourage you to think long and hard about the issue, and that you give serious consideration to what has been said by all parties tonight. And that you do not stop gathering your facts until you vote. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Chief. Lori Foss.
Hi, most of you might know me, but I just wanted to speak to a couple of issues about the division in the community, and to assure people that if anyone is feeling that they are threatened, then they need to report this, because it is important. But also, if somebody has your name and address, it's because it's on a list for the voter registration. It isn't that they're stalking you. It is that it is on a voter registration list, and last time, because we put P.O. boxes and not addresses, they were disqualified. So if somebody knows your address, it's on the voter registration list that we have to check. No one is stalking. It's on the county website.
On the Julian Fire Services webpage, I believe, and that's been about a month ago. So
Was yours alone, or was it all of them?
Please give her the courtesy of letting her speak.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and I promise you, if somebody is driving up and down someone's street, they live there. There's no other way for them to get home. That's it. And then also, too, there was an issue with two issues. One of them is when Chief Meacham was here, he told us that we would not be implementing the Riverside Cost Recovery Plan. And that would be a two-person plan where OSHA requires 2 in, 2 out for safety of the firefighters and the civilians in order to have survivability. Well, Chief Meacham, when he was in here on the 13th, promised that we would not have that in San Diego County. That was only in Riverside County. But it's happening in Palomar. It was in the Ramona Sentinel when they were touting the remodel of a building on Palomar Mountain, the station. But their plan was to have 2 people, 1 paramedic and 1 firefighter. That was it. And he promised us that would not happen here, and that's the Riverside Cost Reduction Plan. And he said it wouldn't happen here, and it takes months for a permit. How could he not know that when he was sitting here? And that was the plan for Palomar, and they're already going to a remodel. We know the county, having gone through a fire, that it takes months and months for permits. How could he not know that and state that it wouldn't happen here when it was already in the plans to happen at Palomar? Now that was a huge issue. And my other issue is, and a lot of people don't like this brought up, is the ability of an unfamiliar entity to find the home in an emergency. Now, we had this happen at Camp Marston on July the 6th of last year, where CAL FIRE could not find Camp Marston. And it was over 20 some odd minutes that they could not find, and the child was not breathing, had to be airlifted. It is not hard to find Camp Marston, and that's where children are. And then it happened with Brian Martin's mom twice, where they couldn't find it because they couldn't figure out that there are 2 Pine Hills roads. Now, I think we need to correct this problem before we vote, because if they can't find us, how are they going to help us? And I'm not saying it's not their fault, because they promote and transfer. Each time they promote someone, transfer out of the district, then they get someone else new. How are they going to learn and they pulled into Wynola Pizza, thinking it was the vintage barn. I mean, yeah, it looks like a barn, but only someone local would know that Wynola Pizza is a barn, but it's not the vintage barn where the emergency was. Now, that is something that is really important. And if we've got 6, 7 camps here for kids, we have 5 church camps, we have so many different residents up here, we have 10,000 tourists on a snow weekend. If they can't find us with an address, how are they going to find an accident on the road? Now, this is for all of us. And I promise you, no matter what's going on in this room, if any single one of us had an issue and we were in trouble, every single one of us would risk our lives to help our neighbor. It doesn't matter what's happening in this room. The division, the arguing, the bickering, all of this garbage. If anyone, everybody, we would do anything for our neighbors. And when you're a part of the community, that's what we do. And that includes you. We would give up our lives for you. We would help you. That's the community I know. But anyway, that is my concern, is them not being able to find us. Correct that, please, before you vote, because that's irretractable. And the Riverside Cost Reduction Plan that was not supposed to be implemented in San Diego County. He sat there and told us that. But it is. It's on Palomar Mountain, and it's in the Ramona Sentinel right now. So that's it. Okay. Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you. The last speaker is Patrick Walker.
Good evening, everybody. Wasn't planning to speak, but a number of items were brought up, so I'll speak on behalf of the Cal Fire Firefighters Union because I love our firefighters. I'll talk about Riverside, and I'll take any questions if that's okay with you guys tonight if they'd like. A lot of things have been said. I'll start with something. I'm not a fire chief. I'm a fire captain. I am the boots on the floor. I still work actively as a fire captain. Talk about CAL FIRE being a wildland fire agency only. Totally incorrect. 60% of CAL FIRE is municipal fire protection. I work at a fire station where we have a 3-person paramedic engine and a 4-person ladder truck. That ladder truck does not go to wildland fires often. Still goes if we need it. You know, I have no issue, nor do we want to get rid of your volunteers. We've always got along with your volunteers. James Stowers and I have worked for years down in the desert off-road programs. I grew up here in the back country. Somebody said it didn't look like I did. I don't know what that means. But I live in the city of San Diego now where I enjoy 4-person staffing 5 minutes from my house. Those individuals that are sickly, that's something you need to look at. Not the response time of the fire department, but your distance from a hospital. Because that's what counts. Because regardless of who provides the service up here, you're still 45 minutes an hour from the hospital. I understand those concerns. You talked about Quail Valley. I'll talk about Quail Valley. Quail Valley was a volunteer fire company. It was always Riverside County Fire Department. The difference is what you were talking about is Riverside came in and made it a paid fire station. So I am sorry that you lost your house, but I noticed on your thing it said that CAL FIRE may have been responsible for that. I don't agree that we weren't responsible for that. Yes, multiple emergencies happen. We can't be everywhere every time. We talk about the 2003 Cedar Fire, how nobody was there, we abandoned you. I was at the 2003 Cedar Fire here in Julian. Steve Rucker died down the street. To say that we abandoned you guys, that is completely inaccurate. Whoever's saying that is spouting that out. Our folks getting drugged through the mud on social media, in person, Miss Tucker's son-in-law, daughters, that kind of stuff, that does not need to happen. This is not Riverside County. We're not doing a cost reduction or a cost per call fee that were just talked about, the young lady just came up and said, completely inaccurate. That's not happening in Palomar either. The 2 in, 2 out rule, that is when there's nobody inside of the structure. That if a house is on fire and nobody is inside of it, we cannot go in there without 2 people outside. Now, if there's somebody inside, we can go in there. You're not going to have 2 people. That's what I don't understand. The county plan, to sum it all up, that's everything you have right now, plus paid staffing. So why tomorrow would it be just the paid staffing, all the volunteers go away? I've heard all night, all year about their dedication to the community. Why would they leave? They're going to be part of the reserve program if they pass a medical, physical, background check, which is only right.
Because of hazing. You guys hate the shit out of the guy. Let the guy talk.
Mr. Brehm, would you give him the courtesy? He gave you the courtesy when you were speaking.
You know, we go back to 2003. That was 15 years ago. Got a whole nother county fire program. This fire program really took off in 2009. You know, all these fire stations from Akatia Wells, Shelter Valley, which I transitioned personally over to CAL FIRE staffing. I'm very aware of that place. We increased staffing as needed, so there's questions about that. You know, you're surrounded in Julian by county paramedic engines. All can be within Julian within 20 minutes. They're not going to abandon Julian. You know, we have down here, excuse me? Intermountain, Shelter Valley, Akatia Wells, any of those can move.
Excuse me, guys. Let the man talk. Let everybody else talk. Let him talk. Thank you.
I can take questions after I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Grimm. The medical responses, you know, you want to bring it to ballot in November? I understand that. I mean, that's a decision for you guys to make. But what you're looking at is, what do you do between now and November when that ambulance is down the hill and there's no paramedic engine up here? The county provided a paramedic level engine. We have the paramedic engine. We have 1, 2, 3 additional CAL FIRE engines here. And our employees have been consistently discounted about their qualifications, their abilities. There's a young lady in here, I don't know where she was just up here talking about, she got a threat on the phone. She's still here? All right. Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know if that was directed towards CAL FIRE, if the union, any of our members, the Julian volunteers, or a public member. If that is found out that is one of our folks, I'll give you my word, that person's ejected from our union. You can take whatever action you want to take on that. We do not do that. That has happened to me. That has already happened to my wife. And it continues to happen. But here's the difference between me and everybody else. I don't care. You can call me all day, all night. This is what I do. I'm a union officer. I stepped into it voluntarily. People said stuff about me on Facebook. You know, they have an alter ego, Mr. Grimm and others. You know, I can't be everywhere every time I'd like to be. Right now, I'm currently on medical leave because my wife is high-risk pregnancy waiting for a baby to pop out. So I can't be all these places. But I'll close it up here because I can keep talking all night. I'm very passionate about this, and I enjoy everybody else's passion. But I have zero tolerance for the name-calling of our folks. You know, there was never an issue, and you can look back at those guys in the back room in those uniforms, there was never an issue between the CAL FIRE firefighters and those Julian volunteer firefighters until this issue occurred. It was not created by us. We did not go, hey, we don't like you now. It was not like that whatsoever. You did not see us talking about those folks on social media that I'm aware of, but you see a lot of slanderous remarks coming towards me, towards my firefighters, telling them to file complaints with Chief Meacham, all the way up to the director of the department. A 25-page complaint was sent to the director, the governor, the attorney general's office, and all that, our union leadership about me. For what, being a union officer? For standing up here and representing my 450 members here in San Diego County? I appreciate everybody's passion. But at the end of the day, look at both sides. You know, make the right decision. But I'm telling you, I'm going to close it with saying, we get along with those volunteers. I apologize to all these board members that have been drugged through this, especially Chief Marinelli. That man has done wonders for this fire department here in Julian, and that guy is a phenomenal firefighter his whole career. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
If it's okay with the board president, I can take a couple questions as long as you don't call me what you called me last time.
Okay, let's keep it civil.
Can you tell me how many volunteers are left in San Diego County Fire Authority from like Palomar, Shelter, Intermountain, Warners, all the way south? How many are left?
I believe there's just over 100.
There's 100 reserves. How many volunteers from those stations?
Those volunteers are
There's
reserves.
none from Palomar. There's none from Shelter. There's none from Intermountain. There's none from Warners. I don't know anything south here. There's none left. You're promising something that hasn't happened.
Let me make it clear. I'm not promising you anything. I'm the union vice president. I don't represent the reserves of volunteers. So you can direct that question towards the county.
But you just stated that we could all join in and be a happy family, so that's why I asked.
We can. I just don't represent the reserve firefighters. Yes, ma'am.
How many have been able to be inundated into the county? The reserves and the
Transitioned over
from the volunteers to
almost all. The biggest hurdle has been physical constraints. They couldn't pass the physical.
But the younger ones that they've gotten in, they've been able to.
They've been able to come in, and many have gotten jobs. That's what happens. These younger guys, they come in, younger guys and gals. They get experience. They apply, and they come over.
But do you have a number, a particular number? I think that's what she was asking.
Like a percentage rate? I don't.
Yeah, that would be nice to know. But.
Yeah.
But if they can't, if you can't.
And that. Yeah, like I said, I don't represent the reserves, but I disagree with that remark.
But I do agree that if they can't pass the physical, that is a kind of a biggie.
That is a very big deal because that's what you're there for. We're talking about these fire responses. That's only less than 1% of the responses total. It's all the medical responses we need to be concerned about. You know, the fire responses. And I'm telling you, we're not turning our back up. We're not going to that person's house because, you know, they don't support us. It's not like that whatsoever. I got burned in the Cedar fire, but that's just what I do. You know. So I take that issue personally that we're going to abandon anybody.
Well, I don't think you would.
Okay, Cal Fire got ordered out. I didn't receive that message. I was on a strike team. I was on a strike team. We stayed here. We were never ordered out.
The only thing with Pine Hills was Chris Cornett's truck, which was Cal Fire. He stayed out of command, and the volunteers, they were the only ones, and they actually passed the Cal Fire guys leaving.
Okay.
Mr. Walker, thank you for your presentation.
All right.
We're going to move on.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes oral communications. All 15 minutes of it. You don't have a sense of humor. We'll move now to the continuation of the old business from the meeting earlier this month. Budget committee formation. We have to have a budget presented by the May meeting. The board at the last meeting delegated to the board members of the budget committee to interview the folks who had volunteered, and they agreed to do that and to come back at this meeting so we can select the 2 citizen members for the budget committee. Buddy and Brian, you were given that assignment. Brian, do you have a recommendation to make?
Toni Harter.
Okay. I think we were going to have 2.
My question on having, the more you get, the more complicated it gets, as you know, doing budgets. So we would like to keep it to 3 total.
Okay.
We've always had 4.
Huh?
Every budget committee I've been on, we've always had 4.
Well, I've been doing budgets here for 30 years, JCSD for 32 years.
Okay.
And that's up to this board. If you want to do 4,
Okay.
that's fine.
Well, 2 board members and 2 citizen members
Is what we were talking about.
is what we agreed on at the last meeting. Now, if you want to change that, somebody make a motion and we'll change that.
So the other person he wants to put on is Jacqueline Egan-Berry.
And you interviewed all those who put in their applications, correct?
We went through this right here.
We discussed it.
Right, but the last board meeting, I thought we talked that you were going to interview them. That was something you brought up about interviewing them?
Right. Well, we decided the applications were thorough enough, so we probably didn't have to interview. And we did talk to some of them.
Okay.
And why didn't you choose Rebecca Lawrence, who doesn't go with it?
Because I think it's conflict of interest. She works for the department, just like the volunteers, saying you can't get paid and volunteer at the same time. It's the same thing here. Like, she's paid, she shouldn't be volunteering.
Okay? Yeah.
Right?
All right.
The standards we hold for the firefighters. So
I'm sorry? I didn't hear that.
I said it's the standard we hold for the firefighters. We can't get paid on one side and volunteer on the other in the same department. So she's basically an employee of the department who is asking her to volunteer for free.
She's a consultant
doing
to
the
the
same
department.
job.
All right. Let's vote on the 2 who have been recommended.
I'm going to do a roll call for everybody's vote.
Okay.
So, Jack Shelver, what is your vote on the first recommendation of
Toni Harter, no.
Ida Tucker?
I'll vote yes.
And Kirsten? And Buddy?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion carries. On the nomination of Jacqueline Egan-Berry, start with somebody else.
Roll call. Kirsten? No. Ida?
No.
Jack?
No.
Brian?
Yeah.
Buddy?
Yes.
All right. We'll move to the list of other folks. Anyone wish to nominate any of the other volunteers?
We can go with 3.
I still don't understand. Usually we have the chief as part of this, and he's being paid. Why, I mean, that's
Well,
not a
it's his
conflict
job.
of interest.
He's
Well,
not,
it is his
he's not
job, but,
volunteering for that. That's his job.
but Rebecca also,
It's like when we said Jason Kiefer can't work on the ambulance and get paid and volunteer on the fire side.
that's true,
Because
that's the
it's-
law.
Right. But Chief has said before that he doesn't feel that he could even volunteer because he doesn't want to volunteer his time for a job that he's getting paid for. So we're asking Rebecca Lewis to do the same. I just don't feel good about it. And
Okay.
so I think we've done the budget enough times with 2 or 3 people. I don't think we need for. That's my opinion.
Okay,
Just have,
go with 3?
go with 3.
Go with 3, okay. And okay, and we'll have the preliminary budget on the 10th, May 10th. Okay. That's the only item of business that we're carried over.
The 10th is not going to give us enough time to approve the budget by July.
Yeah, it's due April.
June.
By June. We have to give a preliminary, then we do a review, and then we do a final. So it needs to be heard 3 times.
So April has to be.
We were gonna do it on
We
the
want to have it
10th.
done for July 1st, for the June, to be voted on July 1st. Have it ready for July 1st. And it needs to be, if we follow that timeline like we always do, we need to present it April 10th. Because there's got to be input and a chance to review it at the May meeting and a chance to vote on it and approve it with a public hearing at the June meeting.
They said they'll have it by the May 10th meeting.
But that doesn't give us, that's not the.
We can do a special meeting
It
if we
has
have.
to be in April. It has to be in April.
Not May 10th, I'm sorry, the April meeting.
Exactly.
We may have to do that because I'm not here. As I told you, I'm out of here for a week starting tomorrow.
So can we do
Well,
a special meeting?
We can do a special meeting.
We'll call a special meeting. Okay.
We'll get it done.
Okay.
We'll get it done.
We'll call a special meeting sometime between April 10th and May, I think it's the 8th.
I believe it is.
But we can have a meeting to present it, and then we can discuss it at the May meeting. It'll work. But work with the chief on getting a time and a place, or a time for the committee to meet. That's all the business we have for tonight, correct? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I think a motion to adjourn.
Second? Motion. Buddy seconds. All in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye. 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 Opposed, say no. Motion carried.
All right.
What was it?